We'll think of something later. Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw. First episode, first time we're taping this. I am TJ Pittenger, producer of the Big Three Roll Up. This is on the Big Three Roll Up Network. I've got Richie Barnes, super producer, formerly of the Rollcast. Hopefully, the Rollcast makes its way back at some point. Rest in peace, Trey. He's alive. That's just rest in peace, podcast Trey. And 2013 national champion, Freddie Stevenson, fullback from Florida State. Also throw in never lost to the Canes or Gators in his time at Florida State. So how's it going, guys? I'm glad to be finally doing this with you guys.
Yeah, man, feels like it's been a long time coming. I mean, we've been talking about this for a few weeks now, and it's excited to finally get this thing launched and add another Florida State podcast to the Big Three Roll Up Network.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I think we got a lot of great things in tune for the fans, so let's have some fun with it, and we're gonna keep the heat coming.
Yeah, we've been talking about this. Trey reached out to me a few months ago and said that he was just needing a break. I think the Tagger era beat the heck out of Trey, and he needed to take a breath. So I kind of told him, I said, all right, well, we don't have anything else lined up as far as Florida State goes for the network. So just take your time, man. We'll welcome you back when you're ready. And I had reached out to him a couple more times, and things didn't come to fruition. So now I reached out to Freddie on like a Thursday or Friday, and then he called me on that Saturday, and we talked, and he was on board. And then I messaged Richie that day, and he was on board. And then we got together that next Tuesday, and all kind of agreed that we wanted to do this. Came up with a name with a little help from Newberg and Silk. Double Fries No Slaw. I mean, for those that don't know, a little homage to any kind of chicken tender place, but specifically Guthrie's, which is a staple in Tallahassee. And we put this together, and a couple weeks later, here we are on week one, man, just knocking on wood that we get a football season. So anyway, what you guys talk a little about yourselves. I'll shut up for a minute.
Go ahead, Freddie. I know the fans want to hear from the fullback.
Yeah, we got to the whole pod. I know TJ, was saying how you hit me up about it. I've heard a few pods, been on a few pods, and just when I heard the opportunity presented itself, like, man, this is perfect just for the fans to hear from us as a team, but also a player that actually played on a recent championship team. I thought that would be something that was unique. And I'm kind of active on Twitter. Y'all see me all the time. I'm bothering Florida fans, Miami fans, and I kind of don't have a filter. So we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm excited about this, and it may get a little crazy, but we got a lot of heat coming for y'all.
Yeah, man. I was with like TJ said, I was with Trey. So if this voice is familiar, it's probably from the Basketball Minute on the Rollcast. And it's been doing the Rollcast for several months before Trey decided to step away for a little bit. But I got to know all the guys from the Big Three Roll Up. Got to hang out with them a few times at some of their events, and always had a good time with them. So when TJ reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to be a part of this?" I said, "Yeah, but I'm gonna be co-host this time. I'm not producing. I'm gonna be co-host status." So he was all on board with it. Let me know that Freddie was the guy, and I love the model of Stadium and Gale, the Gators podcast for the Big Three Roll Up, having a former player and then two pretty informed fans. And I think, we can follow that model and expand on it. And I'm really excited for what we're going to bring to everybody.
Yeah, I love shout out Stadium and Gale, man. I've worked a lot with Dan Thompson and chatted with him a lot. And obviously I talk with Corey or Uncle Silk every day. And they have Ahmad Black on that show. And Freddie, I see you and Ahmad Black going back and forth just about every day on Twitter. And that's one of the reasons I reached out to Freddie, because he kind of gets the vibe, man. He gets the show, he gets the vibe. Richie and I were on the phone. Actually, we were all on the phone at one point today, but there are shows that really dive into the nitty gritty of recruiting and get deep into that stuff. And I just don't think that that's our lane, man. I don't think that that's what we want to do. I mean, we'll certainly talk about recruiting in both basketball and football, but I think Richie and Freddie both kind of got like the vision that I had for this. And like I said, really stole that Stadium and Gale model of getting a former player. the biggest thing with having somebody like Freddie on is just the different perspective. Freddie has been in locker rooms and seen things that we just have no clue about. We could only dream about as fans, right? And being in some meeting rooms and interacting with guys that, Richie and I consider heroes, like I've got Jameis Winston stuff all over my house. And Freddie's taking handoffs from the guy, it's just totally a different level. And I think that's what has me the most excited about this is just that, the perspective that Freddie can bring is just so much different than anything else that Richie or I could ever tell you or say or anything like that.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, we are going over our show notes today and what we want to bring you guys. We did have a little recruiting section in there, but we just decided to axe it for this week because the Florida State's podcast market is saturated. There's plenty of great podcasts where they will tell you about every single offer that goes out, every single, official visitor that comes to campus. We're going to focus on the big stuff. We'll bring in the experts for that. Luckily, we have a catalog who can speak on that. But we're just looking to have fun, think of, a couple of guys at the sports bar talking Florida State football, bringing in special guests. That's kind of what we're trying to bring to you guys with this.
Yeah, I'm gonna just keep it real. I know a lot of guys are big on the recruiting thing. I don't honestly follow it heavily. My whole thing is as long as we getting dogs in here that can play the Florida State way, I don't care what you rank, I don't care what school you go to. If you can play the Florida State way, I'm rocking with you. And once you get here, all those stars don't matter anyway. So it is what it is.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys like this. Hopefully you guys like some of the guests that we bring on. We've got a couple of really good interviews, I think, today. Hopefully you guys like the perspective that we can bring. I like the dynamic. I like the dynamic on the show. Richie is kind of the eternal. Well, I don't know about eternal. I'm kind of or have been a kind of pessimistic fan. I think Richie's a pretty positive fan. So there's a good balance there. And then you've got Freddie, who actually knows what's going on because he's been in those meeting rooms. And so, I think the balance of that will be fun. I think that, some of the access that we've got, because of the Big Three roll-ups, Rolodex, and because of Freddie's Rolodex and stuff like that, and guys that I've met and known and stuff too, I think we're going to have a ton of fun with this. And like I said, Richie said this, the Florida State podcast market is absolutely saturated. There are so many great podcasts out there and guys that do such a good job, probably better than we'll ever do. And that's totally okay. I think the Florida market is so undersaturated that Stadium McGale got in there and they were number one, like a couple months in, there's nobody doing it over there and there's nobody doing it like they are. And so, I don't think we're looking to, I don't think it's like a competition, though. I think it's, hey, if you want what other podcasts have to offer, great. If you like the perspective that we can bring you with a couple of fans and a former player, then great. We'll roll with that. So anyway, anything else you guys have as way of introduction? I think we've kind of talked about ourselves and everything enough.
Now, TJ, we're going for that top spot in this market, man. I appreciate everything and what everyone else is doing, but we're coming for it, right, Freddie?
Yeah, man, own way.
All right, well then let's do that. Let's go for that spot then. Tell Newberg to get out of the way. Newberg's only on like 17 podcasts, so pick those off one at a time.
We ain't doing this for just participation. We want that top spot.
I'm with it. So I think we want to do a lot of fan interaction. If you're watching this now or maybe you're listening to it tomorrow morning, we've pretty much got this podcast everywhere. Right now it's live on Facebook. It's live on Periscope. It'll be live on YouTube next time we do an episode. We're kind of in a processing time for live videos. But as soon as we do our next episode, it'll be live. And then tomorrow morning, it'll be everywhere that you get your podcasts. It'll be replayed on Facebook. You can obviously replay it on Periscope, on Twitter. It'll be on Apple Podcast, iTunes. It'll be on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Castbox, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. There's more than Radio Public, radio.com. So it's everywhere, right? Like you can find this anywhere. But the live feature is really cool. I see 55 people on. That's amazing to me that, we just started this. We've got, half 100 people on. I think there was over or really close to 100 at one point. So The fan interaction is really cool. Obviously, if you guys have questions, we can see all the comments and stuff like that, or I can. Can you guys see them too? You can see all the comments, and we can kind of interact with you. Shout out my boy CJ that says Slender TJ on there. Me and Freddie are trying to get some pounds off and work hard to not be such big guys, but the fan interaction part of it is dope. So if you want to tune in, I think we're going to plan on live streaming all of these. And so come hang out with us. If you're listening to this tomorrow morning or Monday morning or just kind of whenever you're catching it in your car ride to work or whatever, know that we're live 8:00 every Sunday night. So I think that'll be fun. Past that, I don't have anything for introduction. I think we can kind of tell you guys about this. We'll do a little movie magic for the people that are listening on iTunes and everything else. But man, we had an interview with DeMarcus Walker that we did on Thursdays. DeMarcus Walker is a current NFL player, former FSU legend, and really just one of the most fantastic interviews I think we could have had on for our first show. DeMarcus came in here and was an absolute fan favorite. I mean, when you think about the fan favorites on those 2013, 14, 15, 16 teams, I mean, DeMarcus was absolutely one of them. And then to be able to get a guy on our first episode who is a current NFL player, I think is just massive. So DeMarcus was really good, went into a lot of things on flipping from Alabama to Florida State, some of the coaching and things that went on at Florida State. We had DeMarcus on the Big Three roll-up. It's been almost 4 years now, about 3.5 years ago. It was right before the draft. So he was super in draft mode and didn't really go into as much detail as you would have liked him to because he was so polished and wanted to make sure he didn't screw up his draft stock like so many guys do right before the draft. But he was uncut, uncensored, unfiltered. He was awesome on Thursday. So if you're live viewing with us now, go check that out on iTunes or whatever. Maybe I'll put the video up on YouTube. And I think you'll really enjoy that. Also talked about how he never lost to Miami or Florida.
Welcome back to Double Fries No Slaw. We got a special guest on for this first episode. 2013 national champion, consensus 2016 All-American at Florida State, ACC co-defensive player of the year in 2016, first team All-ACC 2016, and second round draft pick of the Denver Broncos. DeMarcus Walker, how you doing today, DeMarcus?
I'm doing great, fellas. How y'all doing today?
Good, thanks for
Doing
coming on,
well.
man. Yeah, man, doing well. So, DeMarcus, you were an absolute fan favorite in Tallahassee. Folks loved watching you play. Everybody is a little bit of a Broncos fan that's an Knowles fan, just wanting to see you do well. How's life, man? We talked a little bit before we started recording. I know you're working right now. I know you report soon. But how are things going?
Man, things going great so far. My 25 years, 2020 has been the best year so far.
I like hearing that, man. And 2020 has been a weird year for a lot of people, a hard year for a lot of people. But 2020 has been my best year too, bro. We welcomed another baby. We completed our family. Like, you just got to find the positive in it. So I like hearing that. I'll let Freddie kind of take it away. I know you guys were I'm sure you guys got a million stories you could talk about and laugh about. You guys were roommates out here at one point. But Freddie, why don't you take it away, bro?
Yeah, man. We go back. Of course, you're doing your thing in the league. I've been watching you the first few years. I know we used to talk about it. Just the grind you putting in and just to finally see you getting those opportunities that we always knew you were well deserving of. And last year you just showed a glimpse of what you can do. So I'm excited to see those next steps you take this year. But yeah, for everybody that doesn't know, this is my roommate. So my freshman year, we came in, and the things you've seen, the guys that follow him on social media, you've seen them putting in work all the time. He never gets out work. This is my roommate. So I remember he would hit me up. He'd be like, yo, let's go to the stadium and run some sprints. Like, yo, man, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. What you talking about?
No lie.
He's like, bro, we gotta start as freshmen, man. We gotta start as freshmen. And I remember we went to the stadium my freshman year. It was midnight, and it was like 3 coaches up there, I believe. And they were like, what the hell are y'all doing at the stadium this late? Like, coach, we trying to play. and this is the work he was always putting in. And we kind of just tagged along with each other everywhere. And I see he's still doing that same thing. He hasn't changed. A lot of people, once they get to that level, they'll kind of become complacent and just be cool with where they're at. But to see him taking it up a notch, that's impressive.
Yeah, definitely. To piggyback off that, we came in working. I don't care what nobody say. 2013 class, yeah, we didn't have all the 5 stars, but we had dogs, like, because that class came in, ready to play. Matt Thomas, came in and made, immediate impact because Pruitt know how to use him. Nate Andrews came in. Brady came in, I came in, Jalen Ramsey came in. Like, we came in, we had some dogs coming in and was ready to compete and was letting guys know that we ain't here to just wait, you know what I'm saying? We trying to start. So that was definitely, I feel like 2013, yeah, like we had the chip on our shoulder, you know what I'm saying? And we definitely loved that, man. We go way back. I'm talking about working so hard. 7 a.m. Coach Vic didn't even have to ask us, what time to come in. We went in at 7 a.m. every morning, and there were sometimes, we'll go in at 6 just to start early, and definitely, man, happy to see my guy losing 20 pounds, man. Now that boy coming back.
Hey.
Great, But yeah, we go way back. My first ever roommate, I never forget when I was going to Florida State, and they were like, yeah, you can have a roommate, Freddie Stevenson from Bartow. I came in there and we just clicked, man. We clicked, Freddie was more quiet or whatever, but, we always clicked. We never had an argument. We always on the same mission. And I definitely somebody who's real, that's Freddie Stevenson.
Yeah, man. Hey, I got a brother for life at Florida State, man.
For life. Yes, sir.
So, DeMarcus, you touched on the 2013 class and the people you had. You almost weren't a part of that class. You were committed to Alabama for a while. And I believe you flipped your commitment the night they won a national championship, which turned a lot of heads. How much of that was Coach Pruitt coming over, and how much did you just believe in what you saw Jimbo building with the 2013 class and the guys like and some of those you mentioned that were in it?
All right, so I feel like I never went on the air and cleared this up, and I feel like I should do it right now. Listen, I wasn't even thinking about going to Florida State. Florida State was not even like on my mind. I remember when Odell Higgins came by, he talked to me and was like, oh, how come we not? And this is before Pruitt was even thinking about taking the job. He was like, why how come we're not in your top? I'm like, because I don't want to go there. And, I was just I felt very disrespected by Florida State. But out of my whole recruiting journey, Jamie Pruitt was the person who I talked. We talked every Thursday. Every Thursday we talked. I knew the whole Alabama playbook before I was going to go there. I knew the playbook, we talked about plays and, certain things to where when I came at Florida State, I knew the playbook before everybody. So I already had that advantage. But if it wasn't for Jamie Pruitt, Nate Andrews, Matt Thomas, Jalen Ramsey, and we wouldn't have been there. And I'll never forget, I had my graduation party. Everything was Alabama, everything. And God dang it, Pruitt called me and said, hey, I want you to come to Florida State. Mid-party, mid-party. And I was like, really? Everything went down to where he said, hey, Nick can call you, I had to go somewhere. I was really hiding out in the house because, Alabama was, they were trying to continue for me to go there. But I really just took a leap of faith on Florida State. I never took a visit there. I didn't know. I thought Jimbo was a defensive guy for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Literally, I didn't know anything. I didn't know. I had no idea. I struggled around going to campus because I didn't know anything about campus. I didn't know where the weight room was at. They were sending me videos via text messages showing me okay, this is where things at. So literally, when I got to Florida State campus, I knew nothing. And that's something that, I gotta give all credit to God for it because, he knew what he was doing, and that was the best decision for me, and I never would ever regret that decision.
Yeah, man, it pretty much paid off almost instantly. You come in as a freshman, you work your way into the rotation a little bit, and their freshman season ends out in Pasadena, where you guys got raising the crystal ball. So you go from being the big man on campus at Sandalwood and Jacksonville to playing in a national championship game in 1 year. How was that transition for you? Was it simple, or obviously work ethic is not an issue with you? So just talk about that a little bit.
Well, I started it off hot because I started season opener against Pitt. It was kind of, it was a little bit, challenging at first because, but just being a immature freshman, I kind of got off sight about everything else that was going on. But, me not having a father figure at the time kind of showed, and then when Pruitt left, oh my gosh, that hurt me. That hurt, because he's the only reason why I came there. The only reason why. I wasn't even thinking about even calling. Florida State wasn't an option in my book because I just didn't like it there. But it was a good transition because that showed me the will, to how to win, team chemistry and everything. And then watching those, the great leaders like, Telvin, Jameis, Timmy Jernigan, that actually I applied a lot of that to my game and to my leadership.
I'm gonna tell a quick D-Walk story real quick since we talking about the Alabama situation. So for probably about the first 4 months of the year, you will always hear D-Walk talking about, man, this ain't like Alabama. We're not handling things like Alabama would handle it. We don't work out like them. And I remember the vets and stuff, they were trying to get on D-Walk. Like, y'all got to chill. This is my roommate. Like, bro, you got to just stay patient. It's gonna come to you. You got to realize this ain't Alabama. You at Florida State. He was frustrated. He was stuck on that Alabama mindset. I was like, bro, we got something big brewing here. You just got to be patient. And then once he started seeing in fall camp and things, how things were coming together, man, D-Walk fell in love with the school.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I tell you what, though. I'm going to tell you what. You got to be honest with him, Freddie. Pruitt put everybody's job on the line, boy. There was no starters going into camp.
Oh, yeah.
We put everybody's job on the line. That's what made everybody wake up. I'm talking about when T. Hunt beat out Carlos, when Jalen started, when Pruitt was like, nah, I'm trying to win. And then everybody, I tell you what, everybody adapted. Everybody assimilated to his coaching. Very cool. I mean, very quick. Like all that talking back, he wasn't having it. And it definitely, that's why we had that fire. Cause, I don't want to say no names, but if you ain't perform well in the game, it was, are you out? You know what I'm saying? Boston College game is what showed that. Yeah.
That so I from the fans' perspective, we knew we were good in 2012. We should have won the 2 games we lost in 2012. We knew 2013 would be a good season. I don't think we knew it would be the great season it was. But, I think the fans got excited on Labor Day night going in there and seeing James as a freshman go out and just dominate, seeing the team shut them down on defense on the road, Labor Day and national TV. But I think the fans thought, man, we're a good team. But I think it was the Clemson game when we realized, okay, we're a great team. I think the Clemson game is for when the fans knew, dude, we're going to win it all. This is it. This is us. When did you – so this goes for both of you guys. When did you guys know? Was it around that same time? Was that Clemson game? Was it BC comeback? Was it – when did you guys know, okay, we just went from good to great?
I can tell you that. I didn't even play spring because I don't know if y'all recall, I wasn't eligible. But it was spring ball when we had goal line drill. You remember that, Freddie?
Yeah, I remember.
Jimbo's tried to start the practice, and we was like, nah. We kept going. Wilder had bruised ribs, and kept
He
playing.
broke his ribs. Yeah.
Broke his ribs. And we was like, nah. Like, it was like a battle to the finish. Like, that was the greatest. You guys, like, you know, that was probably, like, the greatest practice I ever saw in my life because offense and defense, we won. Jameis in there blocking, you know, Jordan in there, like, hitting, you know what I'm saying? I was so into it. I was in the back of the end zone, even though I ain't had no helmets on. I was in the back of the end zone, like, you know, pumped up, getting the defense hyped because you know, that's when we knew, like, yeah. Because Jimbo was speechless after that practice. He was speechless. Like, he had nothing to say, you know what I'm saying? He was just like, you know, everybody just, like, it was just a fight. That was probably one of the greatest practices I ever saw in my life. That's when we knew. I knew.
That was the first point for me, but then you still, as a freshman, you like, man, you don't really know. Especially me, we ain't win nothing in high school, so I ain't know what winning looked like. We've never been to the playoffs, so I was like, I don't know, man. But in fall camp, I ain't gonna say the two dudes that got into it. A big fight broke out, and it was going at it, and a whole bunch of people got involved. And then just the whole practice, everybody just came together and we was competing. It was probably one of the best practices we had ever, both sides going at it. And D-Wall, you know how legendary those practices were we had.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was the second moment for me. But the game we went into Maryland, and I think ESPN had us getting upset or something. We'll pick to lose that game. We beat them 63-0. That's when I knew.
Yeah. And then, like, in that season, like, you know, we stayed humble every game. Like, you know, even though, like, when, like, we played Syracuse, we didn't take them lightly. When we played Idaho, we didn't take them lightly. Like, every week, you know, there wasn't like, oh, we're going to win this. I promise, like, the whole mindset of the team was like, all right, we got another challenge in the way, you know?
That Maryland game, my uncle's a huge Maryland fan, grew up in that area. And I remember him talking smack and sending me pictures of ESPN picking them up on Upset Alert. And I mean, I'm sure it was fun for you guys too, but it was a lot of fun for me to be able to send those 63-0 picks back to him. So, little later in your career, I was down in Miami for you know, what we call the block at the Rock. Can you take us through the block there? Because I remember we had held them all game, but then you don't want to go to overtime on the road. You know, like that's just like that. Them making that extra point just scares the crap out of you, you know, to have to face that. It was coming off a bad North Carolina loss. So take us through that extra point, man, or the extra point that wasn't.
I gotta tell this. I still got this text message in my phone, and I told the media that week going into the week. Freddie texted me, and you remember what you said, Freddie? What you said to me?
No, I don't remember. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I had an Android then. I got an iPhone now. So I cut ties with that, man. I don't even want to talk about Android.
Nah, there's only certain things that are always gonna stick with you. You know what I'm saying? Going into that week, and obviously, like me being the captain and like the leader, you know, obviously, like, you know, everything gonna follow in Jimbo, but just the people that's, you know, higher up in the hierarchy, you know, people blaming me. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, DeMarcus is a bad leader. I'm like, all right, okay. So Freddie came up to me, and Freddie texted me, was like, hey, bro, we're not losing to Miami. You know, he texted me that straight up, and I was like, you damn right. So we had one hell of a week of practice. And then, so going to the game, you know, they driving the ball. You know, they got a lot of momentum. They score. And literally, you know, Mamba Mode just came in, and like when they score, I promise, like, God is my witness. I'm not, you know, this is not no over exaggeration. I literally went in my brain and said, we ain't losing this fucking game, you know. So right before the second half, they kicked the field goal real long, and I could have blocked it. I just jumped too early. So Odell Hagan. So when they grade you out, you get a positive, negative, sacks, missed tackles, but you go to the last column, it says intelligent play. And I got one of those after this game because Odell Higgins, he said he wanted to block it left. And I waved. I said, no. I switched the play call in the huddle. I said, no, we're going to block it right. He said, okay. And then, you know, I got the push. Now, and as soon as I know, like, I got enough push 2 yards deep, I was all right, this is over with. And I got up. I got big-ass hands. You know what I'm saying? and knock that down. I was like, nah, and game over. That's all she wrote. So that was cool. That was a cool moment right there. I didn't, when they scored, I did not hesitate at all. I promise I didn't.
Yeah, man, that whole 2016 season was pretty wild throughout from start to finish. I remember, you guys opened up in Orlando where I live against Ole Miss. So I was pumped. Obviously, the Noles are in town. By the time I get to my seat, it's 28-6. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, what are y'all doing out there? Then we, Travis Rudolph scores late in the first half, and our guy Freddie here runs one in early in the third quarter. And right after Freddie runs it in, you sack Chad Kelly, one of your 4.5 sacks. He fumbles it. Florida State recovers, scores again, and from there the game was over. And I loved you said after the game you went into Mamba mode again. So just talk about the turning point in that game, and then also not to steal TJ's thunder here, but Kobe Bryant shouted you out on Twitter the next day.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you what had me activate. Brad Lawn is like my biological dad just got back into my life, but when I was in college, Brad Lawn challenged me, and he demanded nothing but excellence from me. And I remember him making a case, come on, I need you to come back. I need you to come back. And he took care of me during the spring. He took care of me during camp, and just to see the disappointment in his eyes at halftime, he didn't say anything. You know what I'm saying? And I'm getting jittery from him, to see the disappointment, and I was like, fuck it. Excuse my French. I was like, you know what? Forget it. And I pulled Sweat to the side after we came out. I said, let's play football. Forget all the other bull crap. And after that, after that game, it was all smiles and tears from him. So that was that. That was just. I guess when the time to get on, when the game was on the line, Mamba always come in. It always come in clutch. And then
how much does Kobe shot talking about Richie? Richie asked that, but man, I'll tell you, Kobe was my biggest hero of all time. I freaking named my son after him. But what does that mean? What did that mean to you, man? Then and then, upon the tragic passing. I mean, I'm sure that's got to be one of the coolest messages you ever got. At this point.
Yeah, no, that was the coolest message I ever got. And be honest with you, Jimbo didn't, let no social media, he was just social media banned, But I really wanted to retweet it. I wanted to tweet it back at him, I wanted to do something, I wanted to so bad because I'm like, this is Kobe. This is Kobe. This is arguably one of the greatest players, ever to play the game, So it was definitely a good compliment. And when Kobe passed, I still went to the gym. I went to go look at a house, and when I found out, I went to the gym, and it was very hard because, that's somebody who I'm out of my game after. It's something I do now during the offseason. I start my first workout at 5 a.m. and I study the greats, and he had this one thing where he said, most athletes get up at 9, train from 11 to 1. All right, rest, you got to rest, go back at, say 3 to 4, then eat dinner, and they're done. He said, what will happen if you start your day off at 4? All right, train from 4 to 6, rest, go back at it. Let's say 9 to 11, all right, rest, go back at it, 1 to 3, rest, you know what I'm saying? Then go back at it 6 to 8, eat some dinner, you know what I'm saying? I apply that to my game to where during the off season, I starting my workouts at 5 a.m., So, it definitely hit me harder because not only the compliment, but also just modeling my game and studying, you know what I'm saying? And that was really I got a really big goal this year. And, if I ever get on the podium and got to give a speech, I'm going to give, my shout out to him because, he helped me, in a way, get to where I'm about to go.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, so just sticking with the 2016 theme, and Freddie, I want you to jump in on this as well, because it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen being a Florida State fan was the Showtime series, the season with. And DeMarcus, you were pretty prominently featured throughout the whole series. You actually, my wife, I make her watch with me. You became one of her favorite players just from this TV show. But what was it like? First of all,
I'm shocked that Jimbo would allow that to happen. But what was it like for you guys having these Showtime camera crews around the entire 2016 season in Orlando, Miami, everywhere, and then sitting down on Tuesday nights to watch yourselves in a not playing football aspect?
To be honest with you, I feel like everybody took it differently. I liked it. I liked it a lot because it was an opportunity just to have the world see like what's going on and what's the daily grind of Florida State and what it takes to be a Seminole. And then also, I had a huge stutter problem in college, and like you said, like I was on the show at least every episode. So like the young lady Lindsay, who was one of the producers there, she was such a great help because she helped me overcome my speech impediment. So I'm thankful for it. Everybody else would say it could have been a distraction, whatever. I'm like, no, like if it was a distraction, everybody would have had a bad season. And obviously we didn't get the team goal we wanted. But I feel like everybody just took it differently.
Yeah, me personally, see now I'm a little bit different. I kind of was in my shell a little bit in college, so I ain't really like being around media too much. I felt like the feds was following me when they was around, but now I'm more open and I don't have the issue dealing with media. I'll communicate. I'm kind of outspoken now. I kind of broke that shell, but back then, yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you, because Showtime would try to catch a lot of people slipping just for some good content. And I'm like, man, when we have practices and stuff, I have to remember when I got the mic on me. Like, I can't talk crazy today. Showtime around here, man. I ain't trying to have my mama hit me up on saying I'm saying crazy stuff on TV.
DeMarcus, what is the transition? Talk a little bit, and I don't want to take up a ton of your time today, so we can go through a couple more questions each and get you out of here. But talk a little bit about the difference between like the brotherhood that was that Florida State locker room and what you like see in the NFL now. Just what that difference is, good, bad, and different. Like not that it has to be good or bad, but like just some of the differences there between pro and college. And then maybe you don't have to get too deep with us, but tell us a little bit about what you're looking forward to this upcoming season. You don't have to give us your specific goals or anything, but we all kind of follow your pro career because we're fans forever. But tell us a little bit about that too.
The difference is guys got families. So like, in college, when you were done with practice, everybody would, if we were at Legacy or at Champions, everybody over each other's house playing the game, talking about whatever, but the league, you still got somewhat of a brotherhood, but like the whole outside of football thing, you can't just go over somebody's house and just want to hang out. You can't go like that. Guys got kids, they got to do homework, got the wives over, so, wives home. So really, it's totally different, and my rookie year, it was a struggle because I was going through a lot. And definitely, like, just being on my own, how to learn how to, just take care of things on my own and cope with a lot of different things. But I would say, like, every club has their own, team camaraderie and team chemistry. But the difference with the Broncos is, like, we always been able to, like, do things together, for somebody's birthday or, Vaughn is a big guy on team chemistry, and I've learned a lot through him as, just doing things, just going over somebody's house, my second year, I was like, yeah, I'll come over, and I didn't come over, and he was like, but don't say you're going to come over if you're not going to come over. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was very big. So, and then also just getting older and seeing that how much, it is like a good gesture just to, support your teammates, cause events, whatever, whatever on, like, I want to say not companies, but like different campaigns they have, whatever. I definitely, that's a goal of mine, is to go to all of my teammates' events this year, go to all of them and support, and that's big.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously a crazy off season with this pandemic and everything going on. What are the vibes like with you and your teams as far as everything going on? Are there some hesitation with some players? I know we've seen several players opt out of the season from across the league. So what are the vibes with your teammates as far as all that goes? And what are you hearing as far as when a season may start, and how that's going to look this year?
I think the season is going to happen. Obviously, you put so much work in all season. Like, you want to, go about it some way. Have somewhat of a season to, let out what you need to let out. Or earn what you want to earn. But I feel like the NFL has put together a great plan. Safety wise to let the season continue. What gave me a lot of positivity is hearing with the NHL and the NBA, have their whole entire players test 0 for positive COVID. So I feel like if they can do it, we can do it also. Hopefully, everybody can everybody can be accountable for their actions and, appreciate the NFL is letting us go home, throughout camp and not putting us in a bubble. And so hopefully everybody just do the right thing. Don't go to Manchester City for some wings, and just trouble.
They were named after the guy. Come on now.
Yeah.
I got 2 quick ones, and then you guys can ask anything you want, and then we can get them out of here. But do you have who are you cheering for in the NBA playoffs?
I'm a Celtics fan. Celtics fan. Also, I'm a Kevin Durant fan. So if Kevin Durant was playing, I'd definitely be rooting for him. I know I'm gonna say something that's gonna piss a lot of people off, but in my opinion, I feel like Kevin Durant is the greatest player of all time. But it's cool.
Ooh. They're gonna be in your mentions. They're gonna be in your mentions on Monday morning, bro. Well, we'll agree we agree on everything this show, except I want to see LeBron raise the trophy and say this was for Kobe. So I'm gonna go Lakers on this one, but and then this is for both you and Freddie, and this is all I got for today. We'll get you on at another time, but undefeated against Florida. What felt better in school, beating Florida or beating Miami? Like, which was best?
Florida. Freddie.
Yeah.
Freddie, who you think, Freddie?
Yeah, it's Florida because, man, no matter what happened, like, I ain't going to lie to you. I tell people all the time, we wanted Miami to be undefeated when we played them so that we could be the ones to beat them. But Florida, man, we ain't want them to win nothing. We didn't care if they lost all their games.
Yeah, like that was different. Like, I'm not even playing. Like I hate that school. I'm not even playing. Like, I hate that school. Like, my kids will not go there. Like, they're not allowed to go there. They can go to any school they want to. They can go to Miami, but they're not allowed to go to Florida. Like, I just don't. And it's personal reasons too, because like not only Florida State did me the second dirtiest with my recruiting, but Florida did me the dirtiest. So like it was really like it was personal every time. That's why I laid it on them every year, and that's why I talk so much crap during the offseason. But like my last 2 years, I let them be known. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, I can't stand that school. I can't. Like, I'm not even playing. Like, I hate that.
Listen, have y'all ever drove through the University of Florida campus? You just automatically feel like you got to take a shower. It doesn't feel right.
They're gonna love that on Monday.
Yeah, I can't stand them. I really can't stand them. Like, it felt good whooping their ass every year, especially my senior year. Like, that's why I got up in the crowd and just let them know, like, listen, dude, I will talk crap for the rest of my life. Like, I understand that we haven't beat, like, either school in the last 2 years, but hey, I tell them straight up, have you ever beat me? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted Will Greer to play junior year. I wanted him to play. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Well, I can say definitely from a fan's perspective, I know me and TJ appreciate you and Freddie and all of you guys who never lost to Florida, because that, living in Orlando, I have a lot of good friends that went to UF, and those were the days when I could wake up Sunday after Thanksgiving knowing that we were going to win the game.
There was never a time in the year, or no, in my 4-year span, where I could tell you, Freddie can vouch too, there were never a time where we had a doubt in my mind that we was going to lose. That's why, at the Block of the Rock, I was poised when they scored. I didn't no, we're not going to lose to them, So, like, that's just, second nature,
Yeah, I'm ready to get back to that. So, Richie, Freddie, you guys got anything else?
No, man, I really appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us today. And again, man, best of luck to you this season. I know we'll all be watching and cheering for you and the Broncos as long as you're not playing Tom Brady and my Bucks.
Oh, I'm looking forward to playing him, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Take it easy. He's an old man.
Nah, go hit him, bro. Knock him out.
What you were saying, bro?
I don't got nothing, D-Walk. I'm just happy for you. Like I said, I'm ready to see you to take that next step this year. I know it's coming. Shoot, this is what you done prayed for. This is what you done work for. I'm tuned in for it, man. And stay blessed, man. I'm tuned in. I'm ready to see it. I know it's coming.
I know. You're going to tell everybody I told you, and I can't wait, bro. I cannot wait. I can't wait. You know what I'm saying? There's something that we talked about my rookie year. We talked about this my second year. And like you said, everybody saw sparks last year, but and I love it how everybody doesn't see, but they're so quick to forget. But you know, at a point in time, you know, a lot of people in Florida State doubted me, and I made everybody believe about the time I walked out of there. And same shit gonna happen this year. It's just nobody gonna see it coming. I promise.
Get it, man.
Yep. All right. I see you guys. God bless.
All right, appreciate you, bro.
All right.
Thanks, Marcus.
Though I gotta remember, so this is pretty unfiltered and uncut and raw and unedited and everything else, obviously like that if it's live. I gotta remember to hit the unmute button. I've already messed that up twice tonight, so I feel like Uncle Silk's pain on doing that. But I'll figure it out.
You're giving everyone a peek behind the curtain. This is our raw shot now. The people that listen to this on Monday morning, that you're not going to hear a lot of that stuff. But TJ's already got two big mishaps, so
yeah, so
keeping track here.
We'll go for 3 here in a minute. It's no big deal. So DeMarcus was awesome. So I'm excited for that. We've got another guest coming up, which I just shot him a message. We've got another guest coming up, Andy Staples of The Athletic. So we're really just going to kill a little time until he gets here. So if you have any questions or whatever, I mean, feel free to throw them in the chat to the side. You know, Andy commented on our feed the other day, commented on Twitter on the podcast, and so I shot him a text real quick. He's been on against Stadium McGale on the Big 3 roll up and different things we've done. And so I said, hey man, let's get together and let's talk Florida State. Let's talk about this name that you commented on. And so excited to have Andy on. I see about 40 people in here live. We are, you know, we're trying to grow. If you are spending your Sunday night hanging out with us, I'm not somebody that's shy for asking for stuff. If you will hit the share button on this, whether it's a retweet on Twitter, whether it's a share on Facebook, if you're in, I shared this in a bunch of FSU groups. If you're in any FSU groups, if you want to share those into those, that would be super helpful. Tag your Florida State friends that enjoyed the national championship that we won in 2013. Because we got a member of that team on here, right? You all remember that. Some of you weren't alive in 93, and it's crazy as it is. Some of you weren't alive in 99, but you all remember 2013. We've got a current podcast, a former player from that team. So hit the share button, hit the like button, tag your friends, help us grow so we can make this even bigger and better for you. I got a question here. Richie's going to be my best answer for this while we're waiting on Andy. Tab Young wants to know who starts at QB, guys. Richie's trying to.
I'll go first. I think starting out, experience wins. I think we'll start the year off with Blackman, but with us having a lot of talented young guys in the group, I think if he doesn't display and play the way he should from the beginning, then they'll give those younger guys an opportunity. Kind of a similar situation we had a few years ago when I played. When we had McGuire, he played, and then Francois eventually took that role. So if Blackman doesn't showcase his skill set early on and he doesn't rise to the occasion, they're going to give those young guys opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I agree there. I mean, I think Blackman has the early lead. I mean, he's the favorite to start. Richie, if Blackman doesn't start, or let's say he does, whether he does or doesn't, which quarterback has the biggest shot at challenging him for that starting spot? It sounded like it's going to be an open competition. We're going to get to that a little bit later, but who do you see as having the best chance to challenge him?
Yeah, I mean, for my money, I'm going with Chuba Purdy. You know, he obviously comes from a pretty good pedigree. His brother is one of the best quarterbacks in college football this year. You know, he started as a true freshman up there. I think Purdy, I don't know if he'll start from week 1, but if I had to bet, I think he's the guy that takes the last meaningful snap at quarterback this season.
Another question is Corbin running back 1 with, I mean, we're going to get into Laybourne later, but is Corbin the running back 1 at this point for FSU?
It was my opinion that he was going to be running back 1 even before the LeBour news came out. I'm a huge fan of Kalen LeBour, and I think he's electric. But, you know, he's been here for 3 years and hasn't really done much on the field, and some of that's not his fault. Some of it was his fault. But I think Corbin, if he was healthy, as everyone told us in those few days we got in spring practice, it looks like he is. I think it's going to be a running back by committee, but I think Corbin's probably the guy. What about you, Freddie?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be running back by committee, but Corbin, he's going to be our workhorse back. They're going to get a few guys in the rotation as we go on throughout the season to kind of spare him, but I think he's the guy. Oh, also, I want to say, I know we were talking about guys sharing it and stuff. I'm just let y'all know, after this, don't be blowing up our Facebooks, our Twitters, because I'm going to watch Bernie Mac's show. Y'all ask all the questions y'all want right now. Y'all start sharing it so everybody else can ask their questions, because we interacting with y'all right now. Let's get it.
Don't mess with Freddie while Bernie's on. Have you guys been – this is so random and has nothing to do with anything, but, I mean, finally live sports are back. Like, what have you guys been watching? Have you guys been watching – I mean, everything's back now. MLB, NBA, NHL. Like, what have you guys been checking out?
Yeah, a little bit of everything for me. You know, I came home early on Friday to watch the Magic in their first, you know, I guess regular season game, if we're going to call it that, since the break. I've watched some soccer. I've pretty much anything that's been on, I've been watching it. You know, golf has been electric for me this summer because we've had a lot of good outings, and it's not that much different without fans. But yeah, a little bit of everything. So definitely looking forward to, you know, when the NBA playoffs get started and being able to see some real meaningful basketball going on again.
How about you, Freddie? What are you watching?
Number one thing, I've been watching this stomach go down. I lost 23 pounds in the last 3 weeks. Hey, stomach was hanging over my belt. But now that the NBA season's back up, I've been watching a little bit of that. Of course, like I said, I've been watching a lot of Bernie Mac show and a lot of things on Netflix. But yeah, biggest thing, I'm in the gym right now. I'm trying to get back to the form I was in college, man. I got a little big eating cheeseburgers and wings.
Eating the double fries. You should have been eating a little more slaw.
Without a doubt.
There's a Guthrie's here. So obviously in Tampa, you know, Guthrie's is, or I'm sorry, in Tallahassee, Guthrie's is really big, but there's one in Tampa, and I wanted so bad to go get it, but we took my daughter to like 7 different places this weekend, you know, see her grandparents, see some friends, do a bunch of stuff. And so I didn't make it down to South Tampa, but I wanted to. I just saw that guy, Jonathan Isaac, wheeled off the court with an injury in the Orlando Magic's game tonight. So hopefully he's okay. A guy that's been at the center of the news cycle.
That one looked bad
recently. Yeah. So hopefully he's good. So I've got Andy here. We can add him to the stream. Andy, how are you doing, man? You hear us?
What's up? This is fancy. I like this.
Dude, it is crazy, this technology. So Andy Stables of The Athletic, covering college football and all barbecue-related issues, formerly Sports Illustrated, and hosts the Andy Stables Show. So you commented the other day on Twitter. We've had you on the Big 3 before. We've had you. I think you've been on Stadium and Gale as well. Yeah. We always enjoy your food takes. I don't know what the hierarchy of people that respect you for your college football takes are, but I know that it's high for your football takes. So, your food takes. So
yeah, nobody cares about my football takes, but this is the greatest name of a podcast I've ever seen in my life. This was my Guthrie's order. that, back when there was a Guthrie's in Gainesville, of course, obviously my first Guthrie's experience was in Tallahassee, as it should be. So I am very, very proud to be joining you guys, because this is, if one day I'm lucky enough to get a T-shirt, that's all I need.
I got you, man. We will send one this week. Our production is way. I mean, everything kind of comes through the Big 3 website, but everything is being produced at it takes a month to get to you. But we'll send it out this week, and you'll have it by football season.
Well, you have that new Empire headquarters in Orlando. I figure there's just you got Oompa Loompas in there working on T-shirts and creating new podcasts, and
that's the goal. We're working on getting it set up, but that will be the case, and stuff will go out a lot faster, and we won't have to pay Printful so much money. So actually, I'm going to edit that out because they're not paying us. But anyway, yeah. So appreciate the shout out and the love with the name. I feel bad, but it was like Newberg and Silk that actually thought of it. So I hate to give Newberg any credit, and Silk too, and a Gator coming up with it. But we were thinking names, and we are like, oh, let's, you think of all of the typical Florida State stuff, Unconquered and this and that, and Silk said, just do something.
Spear. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, do something off the wall, like Tallahassee, Double Fry, do something with Guthrie's. And Newberg said, how about Double Fries No Slaw? And so I must have never told them that I did that, but I just sent them the logo one day. And I said, yes, this is it. And they were like, holy crap, you really went with that? And so I was like, yeah, it's amazing. Who doesn't remember that? So
yeah, it's either that you call it Mike's Podcast, and you put it in between Mike's Beer Barn or Mike's Pawn Shop.
Yes, many a keg has been purchased from me at Mike's. So these are all great sponsors. Let me write all this down. But we'll bring it back. Appreciate the love and the shout out for the show. But we'll get into a little bit of football here, and then we'll talk food at the end, because at least finish with something good. So Richie, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, Andy, first of all, thanks for joining the show. We really appreciate it. Been a big fan of yours for a while. And actually in February, I was listening to your podcast, the Andy Staples Show, because you had Mike Norvell on there. Yeah. I believe you taped it from his office
yes.
At the time. So just give us your first impression, thoughts on meeting him in person for the first time. I'm assuming that was the first time.
No, that wasn't. I've met him quite a few times when he was the head coach.
Okay.
And
all right. Well,
he just has always been a very sharp guy. The thing I think is most amazing about him, if you look at his time at Memphis, he has such a good eye for talent. A lot of the guys that he hired at Memphis got hired away by other schools, like Dan Lanning, the defensive coordinator at Georgia, is a great example, because that guy is a future head coach. He runs, one of the best defenses in the SEC right now, but he's destined for bigger and better things. You look at some of the guys that Norvell had hired that then he could hire back when he got to Florida State, because when Auburn comes after Kenny Dillingham, you can't compete with that when you're Memphis. But when you're at Florida State, then you can bring the man back, and it helps you get Chubba Purdy signed, and it all sort of works together. But so I think that's good that they found a guy who can put together staff, and even if you lose good staffers, he can replace them, because I think Florida State fans are kind of burned out a little bit on staffing issues. I mean, you go back to the Jimbo Fisher era, the thought was, okay, this guy was maybe too loyal to some people, and it got to the point where he couldn't make any changes. They had spent a lot of money at his request, and then it became too expensive to make changes when changes needed to be made. And so having a guy who, if you lose somebody, and then you can go get somebody else who's just as good, I think that's a big plus. And then you look at Norvell's offenses and special teams, especially the way those Memphis teams played. They got a lot of little things right, and I think for Florida State fans who've been watching the last couple of years where they haven't done a lot of the little things right, that they're going to appreciate that even more, because it's been a little while for them.
Okay, so touching on his offense, I know you know Florida State's personnel pretty well. Who do you think really fits in, or maybe a name that even some Florida State fans may not know that you say, hey, this guy in this offense, he's really going to be a playmaker?
Well, actually, I've been spending the last few hours writing about their quarterback situation. So, who I was surprised at some of the numbers I was looking at was James Blackman. James Blackman completed 63% of his passes last year. We subscribe to a service called Sports Info Solutions, and it tracks advanced stats. Let me give you one crazy advanced James Blackman stat. There were only 3 quarterbacks last year who threw more touchdown passes under pressure than James Blackman. They were Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Trevor Lawrence. That's a crazy number. So now, the story I'm writing is not all about how James Blackman should be the starter. It's kind of breaking down what the situation is with all 4 quarterbacks. But the thing I was thinking about as I look at these numbers and I look at what Florida State has been dealing with, and one of the other stats we had is since 2017, Florida State's quarterback has been pressured on 40.3% of their dropbacks. Only 10 other schools had more pressures by percentage. So 3 of them were triple option schools who never throw, so of course there's pressure every time they throw. One of them was Idaho, which dropped down to FCS. One of them was UConn, which you watch UConn. So that's the company Florida State's been in terms of pass blocking over the last 3 years. They're going to get better. I talked about the hiring practices of Mike Norvell. Alex Atkins is a rising star coach. He's a future head coach. He was the offensive coordinator and play caller at Charlotte last year. Will Healy, the head coach at Charlotte, raves about him, loves him. Says Florida State's offensive line is going to get a lot better. And look, I mean, they started making getting the offensive line better a priority after the 2017 season. Y'all know that is not an overnight fixed position. That takes a while. So maybe if that offensive line starts coming around, you've got a new offense. So is it possible that James Blackman has never really gotten the chance he should have gotten? Because I think if you gave Jimbo Fisher a truth serum on August 3rd, 2016, which is the day that James Blackman committed, he'd probably say, oh, well, Blackman's not going to play till like 2020 when he's a redshirt junior. Nobody thought he was going to have to play right away.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was one of the biggest disservices to him is that not just being forced to play right away, but not really knowing until that Alabama game when Francois went down. Because true freshman in Jimbo's offense, it's so complicated. It doesn't happen very often. I mean, Jameis couldn't even play as a true freshman. Granted, we had EJ Manuel at the time. But I think that's a good point. And, I'm excited. We were talking about the quarterback competition beforehand. I gave the opinion that I think Blackman may start, but Chubba Purdy will take the final meaningful snap of the season. What are your thoughts on him and what you know about him?
Quite a bit. I actually went out to Phoenix and met up with him and his parents last year when he was still very much committed to Louisville. This was before Florida State had changed coaches and before things had opened up for him. But I was doing a story on all the really good quarterbacks out in the Phoenix area, and his brother Brock is the starting quarterback at Iowa State, and so basically I was writing a little bit about how Chubba kind of fit into that group of really good Phoenix quarterbacks that was coming out this year, and then getting the backstory of how Brock wound up at Iowa State. And it was pretty interesting because Chubba had a very different high school career than Brock did. Chubba took over for Brock, who had just shattered every record that they had, and just kept going. Chubba kept shattering records. Brock had mono as a junior. He had this weird injury before the spring of his senior year where he got a bunch of cactus spines through his left hand. So he had this massive cast when he was trying to throw for coaches, and nobody thought he could throw. And so it wasn't until after his senior year that coaches figured out, oh my God, this kid's really good. And so that's how he winds up taking 5 official visits in 4 weeks before he winds up signing with Iowa State. But Chubba, on the other hand, now I'll give you this one. So when Brock goes on his official visit to Boise State, the whole family went. The coaches greeted Chubba thinking he was Brock because Chubba's the taller one. Chubba's the bigger one. So Chubba's a sophomore at this point, and he's already got D1 coaches going, oh, you're our guy. And they're like, no. That's your guy, pointing over at Brock. And so it was kind of, you kind of knew this was coming. But, Chubba is probably as good a thrower as Brock. He's a little bit bigger, and he's probably a bit better runner. So that's the part that I think is kind of interesting with him because, you look at James Blackman and you look at Tate Rodemaker, they probably fit the same mold. The, catch, throw, if you're accurate and you've got good receivers, you're going to be able to spread the ball around. Chubba adds a little more of a run dynamic to the offense where you need to worry about the quarterback running, and then that means you've probably got to keep one guy in to spy him, and all of a sudden there's a little more open space to throw to. So I think I've kind of thought the same thing as you, Richie, about how the season would go, that Chubb would get. But I kind of wonder now because nobody had spring, and honestly, we don't know if there's going to be a season yet. They got to figure out if they can safely do it. So it could be a situation where they don't play again for a while, and then we don't know. I mean, at that point, that could be Chubba. But if you start this season when the ACC wants to start it, I would agree with you that you want to start with Blackman. He's got experience. He's been in these situations before. You look at the teams they got to play. They just got Notre Dame, a game at Notre Dame added to the schedule. So you want to make sure you have the experience there. But, yeah, if Chubba is coming on, and from what I hear, people are pretty impressed with him up there already, then you give him a chance.
You were talking about Norvell. I know you're a big believer in Mike Norvell. Man, it is so tough in this state to recruit. You see the other major college football programs, pulling all the major kids out of Florida, right? You see, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State pulling the kids out, LSU, and then Miami's recruiting really well. Florida is easily the best team in the state, and so. I know you're a believer in Mike Norvell, and I, like you talked about, I am certainly one of the fans that is like in total wait and see mode after, like you said, the last two staffs. But are you a big enough believer in Mike Norvell to know that to believe that he can overcome all of those things that I just mentioned? And will Florida State be patient enough with him to get there, right? Like to be able to improve the roster and the offensive line and things like that. And the one caveat I'll ask that, and I'll shut up and let you answer, is let's assume the season everything happens like normal or normal-ish, like what the ACC's laid out. Let's not throw in the fact that if there's no season, then it gets hard. Let's just assume the best.
So if he had to play Florida's schedule, I'd be a little more worried because Florida's about to get Alabama and Texas A&M tacked onto the schedule. So if he had to play that schedule, I'd be a little more worried. But I think the ACC is a pretty manageable deal right now. Clemson's Clemson. You have to deal with that. Notre Dame's really good. If you're getting Notre Dame added to your schedule, that's going to be tough. But you look at the rest of the league. Louisville's getting better, but you just took the guy Louisville wanted to be its quarterback of the future. That was Chubba Purdy. He was already committed to Louisville and then flipped to Florida State. So, I think they can overcome that. As far as the recruiting goes, this pandemic is going to mess with recruiting a lot. You're seeing it with Miami now, and I do wonder if this is going to be the case in a lot of places where guys are going to stay a little closer to home for the next couple of years just because they can't go on unofficial visits. They can't go to camps. They're not doing official visits right now. So it makes sense to go where it's familiar. It makes sense. And then it makes sense for those coaches to offer the people that they've seen, that they already know. So that I do wonder, does that mean Florida State gets more guys out of South Georgia than maybe they would have? Or maybe those guys go to Florida State as opposed to going to Alabama or Georgia or Auburn, although those were, all fairly close too. It's going to be a weird kind of reset of recruiting. So I think if they start winning, if they're on the right trajectory, I don't think the recruiting situation they walked into is going to be the one they walk out of when things get back to normal. So if the recruits feel like the program is on the right path, I don't think it's going to be as tough. But to your point, before things changed, everybody was taking from the state of Florida. And that's something that Mike Norvell, Dan Mullen, and Manny Diaz have to do something about. That's not just a Mike Norvell problem. That's all of them need to be able to deal with that.
Yeah. How manageable you talked about the ACC being much more manageable than probably any other conference, right? As far as the schedule goes. Clemson is Clemson. Notre Dame's going to be tough. And just from an overall perspective, I mean, you know these teams well, and it's sometimes it's tough for us to think about it because we just didn't even look competent the last couple of years. But outside of that, is every game on Florida State's schedule winnable? I mean, I look at the next two toughest is probably UNC and Miami. Are those winnable? Are those really, really tough for Florida State too? And then I think
Those are
everything else
winnable.
probably is.
Yeah. I think everything but Clemson is winnable. North Carolina is going to be tough. And I mean, since we're talking quarterback flips, I'd say Mac Brown flipping Sam Howell was the most impactful flip of that recruiting cycle. We'll see if Mike Norvell flipping Chubba Purdy is the most impactful one of this recruiting cycle. But, North Carolina was still a 6-6 team going into the bowl game last year. I think they were ahead of schedule because we didn't know that Mac would be able to turn them around as quickly as he did. But to think that they are suddenly ACC championship caliber, I don't know that they're quite there yet. NC State, I don't have real high hopes for them this year. Miami, I think, could be pretty good this year. I feel like they're finally running the offense that they should have been running for the last 11 or 12 years. And so we'll see with De'Aaron King running the offense how much better they get because they've been competent defensively. And y'all lived through the nightmare of 9 sacks. Well, I would bet that Greg Rousseau is going to terrorize quite a few teams like he did Florida State last year.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it'll definitely be interesting to see. Like you said, we're all kind of in wait and see mode. Do you feel, I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this question a million times, but I'll ask it too, and then I'll pass the mic off. But do you feel good about a season? How do you feel? What's your gut say?
It's hard. I mean, you look at the baseball situation where the Marlins had a bunch of positives and the Cardinals, and they don't have a bubble. And college football doesn't have a bubble either. I think the NFL will be a better predictor than anything, though, and we haven't seen them really start full contact practices yet. That happens in the middle of August, and then they start playing games. Now, the ACC plans to start playing games the same week as the NFL. I think there's a reason the SEC and the Pac-12 decided to wait till later, till the 26th, because I think they would like to see the NFL play a couple games and see if it's possible. So right now, I am – it feels to me like there's too many logistical hurdles. But if the NFL can somehow pull it off, then it's doable. And so I kind of want to see what happens when they start practicing in the middle of this month. I mean, when they start hitting in the middle of this month.
Yeah, let's just say everything goes smooth and we have our season. There's 2 questions I know Florida State fans are concerned about. Number one being the O-line. The past few years, the O-line's been a major issue. What are your thoughts going forward with some of the guys we were able to pick up and some of the guys we have on the roster right now? Do you think they take that next step?
I do think that there's a little bit of they can't get worse than they were 2017, 2018. But I do think this is a case where they've gotten older. They've got some transfers in like Devontae Love Taylor who've played. And I think having experience, having guys that have played, that helps. And then, then it's just a case of, can you stay healthy? That's another issue they've had. Of a lot of it with the offensive line, of course, it hasn't necessarily been ability. It's been guys just banged up constantly. So it would help to get a little more injury luck there. And I know nobody wants to hear that, but there is a lucky aspect to it. There's a luck component to it. But I do think the fact that these guys have been through a lot of stuff already, and now they're on this, for some of them, their 4th offensive line coach. I think they will be better. I do. I think the situation in 2017 was dire, and you guys have talked about it a ton on Big 3 Roll Up. I know just about how their recruiting fell off. I think it's something that they've really concentrated hard on for the last 3 cycles. So now that some of those guys are older, they're going to be better. You're going to have guys that can hold up, and a lot of it in the last couple of years has been putting young guys in front of monster defensive lines like what Clemson had 2 years ago, or those guys at Miami last year. And I think once you've seen it, you can deal with it. I always think with Florida State, it's funny because I always go back to that 2011 year. Remember that bowl game in 2011 when they played Notre Dame? And Bobby Hart's like 16 years old, and he's playing. Who's he playing? It's Aaron Lynch at 16 years old, and you're like, how are these guys going to survive? And then you look at them 2 years later, and they're like, oh my God, this is the best offensive line in college football. Well, sometimes you have to go through that to get to that. Now, I'm not predicting that you're going to have the 2013 offensive line reborn here, but what they went through in 2018, 2019 can help create a pretty competent offensive line when you've seen all the things that you aren't supposed to do.
Okay, without a doubt. And my second question is the defense. When you think Florida State football, you go back to the 90s and, of course, that 2013 team, the dominant defenses that put fear in their opponent's heart. They create turnovers. They play fast. They play physical. They dominate, and they score points. Do you think I'm a big Norvell guy?
Yeah.
He's grown on me. In his first press conference, he impressed me. Do you think he can build our university back to where it's known to be at?
Well, I think the two questions you asked for with the O-line and the defense, I think that would make it, those two things go a long way. And I think from a talent standpoint, Florida State's got what it needs on defense. I mean, Marvin Wilson is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the country. And I say interior defensive lineman, but he's played really from nose out to five technique and been capable at every single spot, which I think is huge for them because it makes them more versatile. Now, you still need to get guys like maybe Josh Kando or some of those guys to kind of match their recruiting potential in terms of rushing the passer, because I think that'll help the secondary. That makes everything easier down the line. But I like this defense. I like the players they got. I feel like at every level there's somebody who is smart and capable of leading the other guys. Jaden Lars Woodby strikes me as the kind of guy that you want in every secondary, who makes sure everybody's where they need to be and is doing all the things you need to communicate with the second level about what they should be doing. And then again, the Marvin factor I don't think can be underrated, because when you have a guy who can wreck things from the inside, from from being as close to the ball as he's going to be, I think that opens everything else up.
Andy, looking at college football from a national perspective, again, let's knock on wood and say that everything ends up happening like all these conferences want it to. Do we get a college football playoff, or what do they do with that? Do they just kind of judge everybody based on their own, or do they take every conference champion and leave the Pac-12 out again?
I don't know. That's the part I wonder about too, because are they just going to go with the conference reputations that were established over the last 3-4 years? Because that's not fair. It's supposed to be what happens this season. So I would say if you're going to play all these conference-only schedules, you should expand the playoff. You should let every Power 5 champion in, let the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion in, and then have 2 wild cards. That way, at least you get a chance